Welcome to a chapter a day. There are two versions of your life existing right now. One is the life you are currently living, the habits you repeat, the emotions you rehearse, the identity you defend. The other is the life you say you want, the wealth, the love, the health, the confidence, the impact. Both timelines exist. The only difference between them is you, not your resources, not your intelligence, not your past. You are not stuck. You are simply aligned with the wrong timeline. Today, you will learn how to close the energetic gap between who you are being and who you are meant to become. You will understand why effort alone doesn't shift timelines, why motivation fades, why visualization without embodiment fails, and why your current identity keeps recreating your current reality. This is not about wishing. This is not about hoping. This is about shifting. You shift timelines by shifting identity. You shift identity by shifting emotion. You shift emotion by shifting meaning. Every decision, every thought, every reaction either anchors you to your old timeline or pulls you toward the new one. You are not waiting for your future. Your future is waiting for you to match it. By the end of this audiobook, you will understand how to collapse time, how to dissolve resistance, how to close the energetic gap, and how to consciously walk into the timeline where everything finally aligns. This is not fantasy. This is physics. This is identity. This is alignment. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Admit you're living in two realities. Right now, you are living in two realities. One is visible. One is internal. One is the life you are physically moving through. The other is the life you constantly imagine. You wake up in one timeline. You fantasize about another. And the tension you feel, that tension is not confusion. It is not failure. It is not anxiety. It is the energetic gap. Two timelines. One decision maker. You are the decision maker. There is the current identity. The one built from memory. The one reinforced by habit. The one validated by your environment. This identity has preferences. It has reactions. It has limits it believes are rational. Then there is the higher identity, the expanded version, the one who earns more, loves deeper, speaks boldly, moves calmly, decides quickly, trusts fully. Both identities exist. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. You are not chasing a future. You are selecting a frequency. Two timelines. One decision maker. You feel stuck because you are trying to live in both at the same time. You want financial freedom, yet you emotionally identify as bad with money. You want deep love, yet you emotionally rehearse abandonment. You want influence, yet you shrink in rooms where you could expand. The body walks through one timeline. The imagination feeds another. And you are still the creator. This is not spiritual theory. This is behavioral law. Consider someone who says they want to be financially free. They read books. They listen to podcasts. They visualize wealth. They declare abundance. But when a bill arrives, their body tightens. When an investment opportunity appears, they hesitate. When a conversation about money begins, they deflect with humor. Internally, they whisper, "I'm just not good with money." Two timelines. One decision maker. The words speak wealth. The nervous system rehearses lack. And the only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Money does not respond to desire. It responds to identity. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. If you approach money as something that escapes you, it obeys. If you approach money as something that circulates through you, it obeys. You're only one frequency away from your breakthrough. But you must admit the split. You cannot shift what you refuse to acknowledge. Awareness collapses confusion. Most people think they are blocked. They are not blocked. They are divided. Half of their energy is committed to expansion. The other half is committed to familiarity. Familiarity feels safe, even when it is painful. There is a tipping point in consciousness. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. That tipping point begins with honesty. I am living in two realities. Say it internally. I am living in two realities. One reality is built from past evidence. The other is built from inner knowing. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. The body reflects the current timeline. Consciousness selects the next one. Two timelines. One decision maker. The energetic gap feels like impatience. It feels like envy. It feels like longing. But it is simply misalignment. You are broadcasting two signals. You desire wealth, but you rehearse struggle. You desire health, but you indulge depletion. You desire partnership, but you practice independence out of fear. The universe does not respond to your words. It responds to your baseline state. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Let's look at business. I worked with a client whose company had been stuck at a couple of $1 million for almost a decade. 10 years of hovering at the same revenue ceiling. Smart team. Strong product. Solid marketing. Yet something felt capped. When we examined the energetic grid of the company, it was clear. The founder still identified as the scrappy startup survivor. He felt comfortable getting by. He secretly feared visibility at a larger scale. More revenue meant more responsibility. More responsibility meant more exposure. His words said, "We are scaling." His nervous system whispered, "Stay small." Two timelines. One decision maker. We did not change his funnel first. We changed his identity. He began making decisions as the CEO of a beyond $10 million company before the evidence appeared. He stopped negotiating with smallness. He stopped rehearsing caution as a personality trait. Within 18 months, the company doubled revenue and moved beyond 10 million. Same market, same industry, new frequency. You're only one frequency away from your breakthrough. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. Identity work cannot be bypassed. Strategy without self-concept shifts is temporary. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. I have seen businesses that are technically sound, yet energetically cloaked. It feels like an invisible shield around them, an energetic bubble that prevents abundance from entering. When we tune into the grid, we often find shame, fear of being seen, fear of outshining family, fear of surpassing mentors. The business is not failing. It is protected by outdated identity. Two timelines. One decision maker. Remove the cloak. Shift the identity. The timeline reorganizes. You might say, "But I'm doing the work." Yes, and the work is awareness. Awareness is power. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point is not dramatic. It is subtle. It is the moment you see the split clearly. The moment you admit, "I have been emotionally loyal to the old timeline." There is no shame in this. The best thing we can do for ourselves and the people we love is to see yourself happy. But happiness requires congruence. You cannot embody joy while defending limitation. Two timelines. One decision maker. Look at your language. Do you say you want freedom but constantly describe yourself as overwhelmed? Do you say you want expansion but introduce yourself through past struggle? Do you say you want impact but avoid visibility? Every contradiction widens the energetic gap, and the timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. This is not about forcing positivity. It is about choosing alignment. You are still the creator. Even now, especially now, if you feel tension while listening, that is clarity emerging. The old identity senses its expiration. The new identity senses its invitation. It's about motivation, not surface motivation, identity-level motivation. The motivation to be coherent. The motivation to be whole. Two timelines. One decision maker. Right now, pause internally. Ask yourself, which identity has been making my decisions? Not which identity do you talk about. Which identity decides? The one who doubts, or the one who knows? The one who hesitates, or the one who moves? You cannot shift what you refuse to acknowledge. So you acknowledge it. I have been living in two realities, and in that acknowledgement, something stabilizes. The confusion dissolves. The blame evaporates. The path clarifies. Because now you understand the game. You are not fighting circumstances. You are selecting identity. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. And frequency changes through awareness first. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. This is that moment. Two timelines. One decision maker. You have admitted the split. You have seen the gap. You have reclaimed authorship. Now that you see the duality, you are ready to choose deliberately instead of drifting unconsciously. You've admitted you are living in two realities. Now, let's learn how to stop negotiating with the old one. Chapter 2. Stop trying to change your life. Change your identity. You do not change your life by rearranging circumstances. You change your life by rewriting identity. Circumstances are echoes of identity. Identity is the source code. Identity first. Evidence second. Most people attempt to force results. They adjust routines. They download new planners. They set bigger goals. They push harder. They grind longer. They strategize endlessly. But the external rearrangement never outpaces internal programming. If the identity remains intact, the timeline reassembles around it. Identity first. Evidence second. Look carefully at your life. It is not random. It is patterned. Those patterns are not punishments. They are reflections. They reveal what you unconsciously believe about yourself. If you believe you are overlooked, you will unconsciously shrink in rooms where recognition is available. If you believe you are inconsistent, you will sabotage momentum the moment it builds. If you believe you are average, you will reject extraordinary opportunities because they feel unsafe. Circumstances are echoes of identity. You do not chase echoes. You change the voice that produces them. Two timelines. One decision maker. The decision maker is not your calendar. It is your self-concept. You can write millionaire on a vision board, but if your identity is still struggling survivor, the board becomes decoration. Identity first. Evidence second. Consider lottery winners. Someone wins tens of millions of dollars overnight. The external circumstance shifts instantly. New house, new car, new attention, new possibilities. Yet within a few years, many return to financial instability. Why? Because money arrived. Identity did not. The nervous system still felt familiar with chaos. The subconscious still believed wealth was temporary. The decision-making remained rooted in lack. The timeline briefly expanded. Then the identity restored equilibrium. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. If the identity does not elevate, abundance cannot stabilize. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. Money responds to self-perception. Success responds to emotional capacity. Influence responds to internal congruence. Identity first. Evidence second. You do not become confident after success. You become successful after confidence stabilizes. You do not feel worthy because love arrives. Love arrives because worthiness is embodied. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. And frequency is identity in motion. Most people ask, how do I get it? The more powerful question is, who naturally has it? Who is the version of you that does not struggle with this? How do they think? How do they decide? What do they tolerate? What do they refuse? The fastest timeline shift happens when you become the person who naturally has what you desire. Not pretending, not performing, Becoming. There is a difference. Pretending exhausts you. Becoming stabilizes you. Pretending says, I hope they believe me. Becoming says, I no longer question myself. Identity first. Evidence second. I once worked with a founder who wanted to scale aggressively. His systems were competent. His marketing was strong. His team was capable. Yet revenue plateaued. Every time growth accelerated, he micromanaged. He tightened control. He hesitated to delegate large decisions. Subconsciously, he did not identify as a leader of scale. He identified as a high-performing operator. The company could not outgrow his self-concept. Once he adopted the identity of visionary CEO, his behavior changed immediately. He empowered others. He made decisive calls. He tolerated larger stakes without contraction. Revenue followed the identity shift. You're only one frequency away from your breakthrough. The breakthrough is not a tactic. It is a self-permission. Identity first. Evidence second. Look at your current results. They are not enemies. They are mirrors. If your relationships feel unbalanced, examine the identity you carry in intimacy. If your finances feel unstable, examine the identity you hold around security. If your health fluctuates, examine the identity you embody around discipline. Circumstances are echoes of identity. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. That tipping point arrives when you stop negotiating with external rearrangement and start claiming internal authorship. You are still the creator, and creation begins with identity selection. There is no rush. There is no force. There is recognition. I no longer identify as this. That sentence shifts timelines more powerfully than years of strategy. Because the only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Identity determines baseline frequency. If your baseline identity is overwhelmed, you will recreate busyness even after breakthroughs. If your baseline identity is undervalued, you will accept compensation beneath your capacity. If your baseline identity is unlucky, you will interpret neutral events as negative confirmations. Identity first. Evidence second. The evidence rearranges itself around who you believe you are. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. The body performs according to identity. Consciousness selects identity. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. Which identity is deciding today? The one built from memory, or the one built from vision? This is not about motivation spikes. It's about stabilization. It's about becoming so aligned with the upgraded self that the old self feels unfamiliar. It's about motivation at the identity level. The version of you who naturally has abundance does not wake up asking if they deserve it. The version of you who naturally leads does not rehearse smallness. The version of you who naturally loves does not prepare for betrayal. Identity first. Evidence second. There is no external gatekeeper. The gate is internal. The moment you claim, "This is who I am now," the timeline reorganizes quietly. You will notice different conversations. You will notice different opportunities. You will notice different reactions. Because the internal filter has shifted. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. You cannot skip the becoming and expect sustainable having. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point is identity certainty. From that certainty, action flows effortlessly. Decisions become cleaner. Boundaries become natural. Opportunities feel aligned rather than intimidating. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. And that frequency is self-definition. Stop trying to change your life. Change your identity. Identity first. Evidence second. You have acknowledged that you are living in 2 realities. Now you understand that circumstances are echoes, not causes. You are not here to fight your reflection. You are here to adjust the source. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. You have selected awareness. Now you select identity. And once identity stabilizes, the evidence cannot resist you. You've stopped chasing outcomes. Now you are ready to close the energetic gap itself. Chapter 3. Close the energetic gap between desire and self-concept. Desire is powerful, but desire alone does not shift timelines. There is a space between what you want and who you believe you are. That space is not physical. It is emotional. It is the distance between I want it and I am worthy of it. That distance is the energetic gap. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. You can measure the gap by sensation. When you think about your dream life, does your body expand or contract? Does your chest open or tighten? Do you feel natural or fraudulent? The reaction tells the truth. You may speak confidently about abundance. Yet when someone offers you a larger opportunity, your first instinct is hesitation. You may claim you desire partnership. Yet when someone consistent shows up, you search for flaws. The mind says yes. The nervous system says danger. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. This is not weakness. It is conditioning. Self-concept is formed through repetition. Childhood experiences, cultural narratives, past disappointments, subtle comments, quiet comparisons. And until self-concept matches desire, the timeline remains split. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. Desire pulls forward. Self-concept pulls backward. The stronger pull wins. You are still the creator. But you must close the gap consciously. Consider someone who deeply wants love. She says she is ready. She journals about partnership. She visualizes a healthy relationship. She feels lonely and longs for connection. Yet underneath, there is a belief: relationships are unsafe. Maybe she watched betrayal growing up. Maybe she experienced abandonment. Maybe she internalized that closeness leads to pain. So when a secure partner arrives, she feels restless. She interprets calm as boredom. She interprets stability as lack of chemistry. Her conscious desire says, "This is what I want." Her self-concept whispers, "This is not safe." If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. Love feels distant not because it is unavailable, but because it does not match the internal blueprint. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. But frequency must be embodied, not fantasized. Closing the gap requires honesty. Ask yourself, when I imagine having this fully, what discomfort arises? Is it fear of visibility? Fear of responsibility? Fear of loss? Fear of being seen differently? Desire is clean. Self-concept is layered. If you want wealth but associate wealth with greed, you will resist it. If you want influence but associate influence with criticism, you will dilute yourself. If you want expansion but associate expansion with exhaustion, you will slow down progress. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. The sensation of distance is internal dissonance. And the only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Frequency shifts when self-concept upgrades. You do not close the gap by forcing results. You close it by dissolving the belief that you are separate from what you want. You are not chasing a higher timeline. You are aligning with it. I once guided a client who felt energetically deprived in her relationship. She knew she wanted more depth, more appreciation, more joy. Yet she was afraid to leave. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of disappointing family. She existed between 2 timelines. In one timeline, she stayed and slowly shrank. In the other, she chose herself and expanded. Her desire was clear. Her self-concept was conflicted. She believed choosing herself was selfish. She believed endurance was noble. So the energetic gap widened. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. I told her something simple. The best thing we can do for ourselves and the people we love is to see yourself happy. When she allowed that truth to land, her self-concept shifted from self-sacrificing partner to self-honoring woman. Within months, her entire relational dynamic transformed. She either received deeper reciprocity or peacefully transitioned into a new chapter. The timeline reorganized when her identity did. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The gap closes the moment you decide you are no longer emotionally loyal to limitation. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. You must feel the discomfort of releasing old narratives. If you have believed you are too much, then expansion will feel illegal. If you have believed you are not enough, then success will feel borrowed. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. So you ask a better question. What would it feel like to be the kind of person for whom this is normal? Normalization collapses distance. The body must learn safety at higher levels. Safety with money. Safety with love. Safety with visibility. Safety with power. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. Consciousness selects expansion. The body adapts. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. That tipping point arrives when desire no longer feels like fantasy. It feels like identity. You stop saying, I hope. You start saying, this is like me. You're only one frequency away from your breakthrough. And the breakthrough happens when self-concept catches up to vision. Notice your language. Do you describe your dream as someday? Do you refer to successful people as them? Do you speak about abundance as if it belongs to a different category of human? Distance in language reflects distance in self-perception. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. So bring it closer. Instead of asking, can I have this? Ask, who am I becoming that aligns with this? Instead of wondering, why hasn't it arrived? Ask, where am I still doubting my compatibility? 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. You close the energetic gap through repetition of new identity. Not affirmation without embodiment. Embodiment without apology. You practice receiving. You practice speaking boldly. You practice tolerating visibility. You practice accepting support. Small exposures recalibrate self-concept. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. And frequency is emotional familiarity. If joy feels foreign, you will abandon it. If wealth feels unnatural, you will mismanage it. If partnership feels risky, you will destabilize it. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. So you shorten the distance. You imagine having it and allow your body to remain calm. You visualize success and let your breath stay steady. You think about love and allow your shoulders to relax. The nervous system must associate desire with safety. That is how timelines merge. You are still the creator, and creation flows from congruence. When desire and self-concept harmonize, manifestation feels inevitable. No force, no desperation, no chasing, only alignment. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. Because once you feel worthy internally, you cannot accept less externally. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. You have identified the split. You have chosen identity. Now you have begun closing the gap. Desire is no longer distant. It is becoming familiar. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. And now, you no longer feel unqualified. You feel aligned. You've closed the emotional distance between wanting and being. Now it's time to understand the mechanism that locks the new timeline in place. Chapter 4. Your emotions are coordinates. Your emotions are not reactions. They are directions. They are coordinates. Every feeling you carry is a signal broadcasting a destination. You are not drifting through random events. You are navigating by emotional frequency. Emotions determine which timeline you experience. They function like an internal GPS system. They tell reality where to organize around you. Feel it now, or chase it forever. If you constantly feel behind, you will experience events that confirm delay. If you consistently feel grateful, you will notice acceleration. If you habitually feel insecure, you will interpret neutrality as rejection. The emotional state you normalize becomes the timeline you stabilize. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is not logic. It is emotion. You can plan meticulously. You can strategize intelligently. You can prepare thoroughly. Yet if your emotional baseline contradicts your goals, you will unconsciously reroute yourself back to familiarity. Anxiety is one of the strongest anchors to lower timelines. Anxiety is survival mode rehearsed repeatedly. It is the body scanning for threat even when none exists. It narrows perception. It shrinks imagination. It makes expansion feel unsafe. A person operating from anxiety does not make visionary decisions. They make protective ones. Protection creates small timelines. Survival creates limited outcomes. Feel it now, or chase it forever. If you desire abundance but constantly feel scarcity, your emotional coordinates are set to lack. If you desire partnership but constantly feel guarded, your coordinates are set to isolation. If you desire influence but constantly feel self-conscious, your coordinates are set to invisibility. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. And frequency is emotional repetition. Consider someone building a business from anxiety. They obsess over competitors. They check metrics obsessively. They assume decline before evidence appears. They prepare for worst-case scenarios. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. When a business is infused with anxiety, it behaves defensively. Marketing becomes reactive. Messaging becomes uncertain. Decisions become hesitant. Clients feel that energy. Opportunities sense it. Now imagine the same strategy executed from grounded certainty. Calm leadership. Clear boundaries. Confident pricing. Relaxed visibility. The external actions may look similar. The emotional coordinates are not. Feel it now, or chase it forever. You cannot wait to feel successful after success arrives. You must embody the emotional signature first. You are still the creator. Creation responds to your dominant feeling, not your occasional inspiration. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Your baseline emotion matters more than temporary spikes of motivation. A brief surge of excitement cannot override chronic doubt. A single positive thought cannot override habitual frustration. Your nervous system memorizes what you repeat. If anxiety is repeated, survival timelines repeat. If calm authority is repeated, expansion timelines repeat. You're only one frequency away from your breakthrough. That frequency is emotional mastery. I once witnessed someone experience instant manifestation through a mood shift. They had been feeling low for days. Heavy, discouraged, questioning their direction. Instead of spiraling further, they made a simple decision. They watched funny videos. They let themselves laugh. They allowed lightness. Within 15 minutes, their entire physiology changed. Breath softened. Shoulders dropped. Energy lifted. That same afternoon, they received a text message. An unexpected invitation to speak on a stage they had dreamed about for years. Nothing external was forced. The coordinate changed. Feel it now, or chase it forever. The speaking opportunity did not appear because of effort in that moment. It aligned because the emotional frequency matched visibility and expansion. Anxiety would not have attracted that invitation. Joy did. This is law-based. Calm. Precise. You are not manipulating reality. You are selecting it. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. If your dominant emotion is tension, you will perceive pressure everywhere. If your dominant emotion is trust, you will perceive opportunity everywhere. The world mirrors your coordinates. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point is recognizing that emotions are not inconveniences. They are instructions. Most people suppress feelings. They distract from them. They label them as weakness. Yet emotion is navigation. Anxiety signals attachment to survival identity. Resentment signals attachment to past identity. Jealousy signals disowned potential. Every emotion contains information. Feel it now, or chase it forever. If you refuse to feel confidence internally, you will chase validation externally. If you refuse to feel worthy internally, you will chase proof externally. If you refuse to feel safe internally, you will chase control externally. Chasing is exhausting. Alignment is efficient. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. Emotional mastery requires awareness. It requires pausing before reacting. It requires choosing a new baseline deliberately. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. The body reacts automatically. Consciousness chooses deliberately. When anxiety arises, you observe it. You do not identify with it. You breathe through it. You recalibrate. You ask, what timeline does this emotion reinforce? If the answer is survival, you shift toward trust. If the answer is contraction, you expand posture and breath. If the answer is fear, you cultivate curiosity. You do not fight the emotion. You redirect the coordinate. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. And that frequency is emotional familiarity. If calm feels unfamiliar, practice it daily. If gratitude feels unnatural, cultivate it intentionally. If confidence feels distant, embody it in small interactions. Feel it now, or chase it forever. The future you is emotionally regulated. The future you is not frantic. The future you does not oscillate between extremes. They are stable. Stability is attractive. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. It responds to emotional steadiness. Clients trust grounded leaders. Partners respect centered individuals. Opportunities align with those who do not panic under pressure. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is the emotion you rehearse most often. If anxiety has been your default, that is not condemnation. It is awareness, and awareness restores choice. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. That point arrives when you realize you have been navigating unconsciously. Now you navigate deliberately. You choose feelings that match expansion. You choose interpretations that support growth. You choose internal states that stabilize higher timelines. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Your emotions are coordinates. They are not random. They are precise. Feel it now, or chase it forever. You have mastered awareness of identity. You have closed the energetic gap. Now you understand the mechanism that steers reality. You control the coordinates. Next, you will learn how to collapse time itself through embodied action. Chapter 5. Collapse time by acting as if, without delusion. Time does not collapse through wishing. Time compresses through embodiment. Acting as if has been misunderstood for years. It is not fantasy. It is not denial. It is not pretending circumstances are different than they are. Acting as if is energetic embodiment. It is choosing to make decisions from the identity that already exists in your higher timeline. Future self-decisions create present results. You are not lying to yourself. You are aligning yourself. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker determines whether you operate from your current evidence or your expanded identity. When most people hear act as if, they imagine forced positivity. They imagine ignoring bills. They imagine reckless spending. They imagine delusion. That is not embodiment. That is escapism. True embodiment is grounded, calm, precise. It asks a simple question. If I were already the person who has this, how would I decide right now? Future self-decisions create present results. Consider the aspiring entrepreneur who has not yet crossed 6 figures. Revenue fluctuates. Doubt appears. Validation is inconsistent. From the current identity, decisions are reactive. Pricing is hesitant. Marketing is timid. Boundaries are flexible. From the future identity, the CEO of a thriving company, decisions are clean. Pricing reflects value. Messaging is confident. Standards are clear. The income has not arrived yet. The identity has. Future self-decisions create present results. This entrepreneur begins holding meetings with composure instead of insecurity. They invest in systems instead of clinging to scarcity. They speak publicly without apologizing for ambition. They do not wait for proof to behave like a leader. They embody leadership first, identity first, evidence second. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. And that frequency is behavior aligned with vision. Acting as if means your posture shifts before the applause. Your tone stabilizes before the promotion. Your standards elevate before the income. You are still the creator. Creation accelerates when identity and action synchronize. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. If you skip embodiment and demand results, the timeline stretches. If you embody the result internally, time compresses. Future self-decisions create present results. There is a distinction between forcing and flowing. Forcing says, I must prove myself. Flowing says, I am expressing myself. Forcing drains energy. Flowing circulates energy. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. Businesses expand when leaders embody certainty. They contract when leaders embody hesitation. I once guided someone who left a stable tech job because it no longer aligned with who they were becoming. 7 months passed. The business they envisioned had not fully stabilized. Fear began whispering. The old identity suggested retreat. Go back to safety. Find another job quickly. Abandon the vision. But acting as if meant asking a better question. What would the successful holistic health founder do in this moment? They would not spiral. They would not collapse. They would not shrink. They would refine strategy. They would leverage available tools. They would expand visibility. I encouraged them to use AI to generate structured content for their brand, even though they had previously resisted creating videos. The future version of them was visible, expressive, and technologically empowered. So they began posting, sharing insights, teaching. Confidence grew through action. Momentum followed clarity. Future self-decisions create present results. The external validation came after internal permission. You are not pretending success. You are practicing alignment. You are not ignoring reality. You are upgrading your participation in it. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Frequency stabilizes through repeated aligned decisions. Small choices compound. Choosing to speak up in meetings. Choosing to invest in mentorship. Choosing to decline misaligned opportunities. Choosing to protect your focus. These are identity-based actions. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. That tipping point happens when acting as your future self feels natural instead of uncomfortable. At first, embodiment stretches you. It feels unfamiliar. It may even feel arrogant. That sensation is expansion. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. Acting as if closes that distance. Each aligned decision teaches the nervous system that higher timelines are safe. Future self-decisions create present results. Notice how you make financial choices. Do you invest cautiously from fear or strategically from confidence? Do you price based on insecurity or based on value delivered? The decision reveals identity. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is you in this moment. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. Consciousness chooses identity. Identity chooses behavior. Behavior shapes timelines. Acting as if is not about extravagance. It is about congruence. A future-fit individual chooses nourishment over impulse. A future impactful leader chooses discipline over distraction. A future-fulfilled partner chooses honesty over avoidance. Future self-decisions create present results. When you choose from expansion, expansion compounds. When you choose from fear, limitation compounds. The gap between present and future narrows with each aligned action. You do not wait for motivation. It's about motivation at the identity level, the internal drive to remain congruent with who you are becoming. Motivation fades. Identity stabilizes. That is why embodiment works. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. Frequency is not mystical. It is behavioral repetition rooted in belief. If your future self wakes early to protect focus, you practice that now. If your future self speaks clearly about boundaries, you practice that now. If your future self invests boldly in growth, you practice that now. You do not exaggerate. You do not overspend. You do not inflate ego. You embody responsibility. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. Clients feel when you trust yourself. Investors sense when you believe in your direction. Partners respond when your energy is steady. Future self-decisions create present results. You collapse time by refusing to postpone embodiment. Time stretches for those who wait. Time compresses for those who align. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point is when your present self stops arguing with your future self. There is no internal debate. There is execution. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker now acts from vision. You have mastered awareness. You have closed emotional dissonance. You have learned to navigate by emotion. Now you are embodying the future deliberately. The old timeline weakens each time you choose from expansion. Future self-decisions create present results. And as embodiment stabilizes, something subtle happens. The past loses its grip. Chapter 6. Stop rehearsing the old timeline. Your past survives through repetition, not because it is powerful, but because it is rehearsed. Memory alone does not control you. Repetition does. What you rehearse, you relive. Every time you retell a painful story with emotional intensity, you reactivate the identity connected to it. Your body does not distinguish between memory and present experience. It responds the same way. Tension returns. Bitterness resurfaces. Defensiveness reappears. And the old timeline restabilizes. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker chooses which story receives energy. Complaining may feel harmless. Venting may feel justified. Revisiting old wounds may feel necessary. But when these patterns become habitual, they stop being processing. They become programming. What you rehearse, you relive. If you constantly narrate how difficult your life has been, you strengthen the identity of struggle. If you repeatedly explain how people have disappointed you, you strengthen the identity of mistrust. If you frequently describe how unlucky you are, you reinforce the identity of limitation. Identity first. Evidence second. The world will continue presenting evidence that matches the identity you emotionally defend. Consider someone who experienced betrayal years ago. The pain was real. The disappointment was sharp. The lesson was meaningful. But instead of integrating the experience and evolving, they continue telling the story. To friends, to new partners, to themselves. They introduce the narrative early in new relationships. I've been betrayed before. They scan for signs of dishonesty. They question innocent behavior. They test loyalty unconsciously. What you rehearse, you relive. The old timeline does not disappear because time passed. It dissolves when emotional attachment fades. If betrayal is rehearsed, distrust becomes baseline. If distrust becomes baseline, secure love feels suspicious. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. But if the frequency of distrust dominates, love will feel distant. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. You may say you want peace. Yet if your conversations are fueled by complaint, peace cannot stabilize. You may desire expansion. Yet if your inner dialogue revolves around injustice, expansion feels unsafe. You are still the creator. Creation responds to what is emotionally amplified. What you rehearse, you relive. This applies to business as well. Some entrepreneurs repeatedly tell the story of early failures. They emphasize the mistakes. They highlight the losses. They speak about the time a launch flopped or a partnership collapsed. At first, this may feel like transparency. Over time, it becomes identity reinforcement. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. If your business is constantly introduced through the lens of past struggle, that energy lingers in the field. I once worked with someone whose company was stagnating. Strategy was solid. Talent was present. Yet momentum stalled. When we examined the energetic blueprint, there was resentment embedded within the partnership. One partner carried victim consciousness into every decision. Victim consciousness narrows timelines. It blames market conditions. It criticizes clients. It justifies stagnation. The other partner wanted excellence, expansion, leadership. Two energetic directions cannot coexist peacefully. What you rehearse, you relive. When the misaligned partner was released from the business, the energetic field cleared instantly. That same day, a piece of content went viral. Revenue surged within weeks. Clearing old identity cleared the timeline. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. You must stop feeding the old narrative. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Frequency is maintained through focus. If your focus lingers on past pain, pain becomes your emotional home. If your focus lingers on former limitations, limitation becomes familiar. What you rehearse, you relive. This does not mean denying your past. It means releasing emotional loyalty to it. There is a difference between honoring a lesson and preserving a wound. Honoring extracts wisdom. Preserving prolongs identity attachment. Two timelines. One decision maker. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point arrives when you realize the old story is not sacred. It is optional. You can tell a new story without disrespecting your journey. Instead of saying, "I was betrayed and now I can't trust," you say, "I learned discernment and now I choose wisely." Instead of saying, "My business failed," you say, "That iteration trained me for this expansion." Instead of saying, "I've always struggled," you say, "I am resilient and adaptable." Language shifts identity. Identity shifts timelines. What you rehearse, you relive. Notice how often you revisit frustration in casual conversation. Notice how frequently you relive disappointments mentally. Each replay is a rehearsal. Each rehearsal strengthens neural pathways. Each pathway stabilizes a familiar timeline. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. Consciousness chooses what to energize. If anxiety about the past arises, observe it without dramatizing it. If anger surfaces, process it without building a monument around it. Release does not mean forgetting. Release means detaching. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. And that frequency cannot coexist with constant emotional regression. Feel it now, or chase it forever. If you refuse to release the old emotional signature, you will chase new outcomes endlessly. The moment you stop rehearsing pain, space opens. New interpretations enter. New behavior emerges. New evidence appears. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. It responds to clarity and forward motion. It withdraws from stagnation and blame. What you rehearse, you relive. You can rehearse gratitude. You can rehearse confidence. You can rehearse stability. You can rehearse abundance. Repetition works both ways. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. That change begins with disciplined focus. When old memories surface, you do not indulge them. When past grievances arise, you do not amplify them. When former identities attempt to resurface, you do not entertain them. You choose forward alignment. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. You have embodied the future. Now you withdraw energy from the past. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point is the moment the old story feels irrelevant. Not suppressed. Not denied. Simply outdated. What you rehearse, you relive. And you are done reliving what no longer reflects who you are becoming. You have stopped arguing with your future. You have stopped feeding your past. Now it is time to elevate your baseline frequency entirely. Chapter 7. Raise your baseline vibration. Your life does not respond to your highest moments. It responds to your most common ones. Your baseline mood determines your default timeline. Not the excitement you feel after a motivational video. Not the inspiration you feel during a breakthrough conversation. Not the confidence you feel on a perfect morning. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. Baseline is your emotional home. It is the state you return to when nothing dramatic is happening. It is how you feel on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. If your baseline is frustration, your reality organizes around obstacles. If your baseline is gratitude, your reality organizes around opportunity. If your baseline is tension, your reality organizes around pressure. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is your most practiced mood. Consider 2 individuals who lose their jobs on the same day. The first feels immediate collapse, catastrophe, panic, identity crisis. Their baseline has been fear of instability, so the event confirms the fear. They spiral into worst-case scenarios. They speak about unfairness. They relive past disappointments. Their timeline narrows. The second feels the shock, then curiosity, then possibility. Their baseline has been quiet trust. They ask different questions. What is this making space for? What skills can I monetize? Where have I been playing small? Their timeline expands. Same event, different baseline, different future. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. Breakthroughs are not random blessings. They are natural outcomes of sustained frequency. If you normalize resilience, opportunity feels accessible. If you normalize optimism, solutions appear faster. If you normalize calm authority, leadership roles feel inevitable. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. That frequency is baseline. You cannot live in chronic irritation and expect aligned relationships. You cannot live in chronic scarcity and expect financial overflow. You cannot live in chronic self-doubt and expect massive visibility. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. Distance is often a reflection of emotional inconsistency. You are still the creator. And creators do not rely on occasional intensity. They rely on stabilized identity. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. Raising your baseline does not mean suppressing emotion. It means choosing the emotional atmosphere you cultivate most often. You train your nervous system toward steadiness. You practice gratitude before sleep. You breathe deeply before responding. You limit exposure to chaos-driven media. You refine your environment intentionally. Small practices compound into emotional stability. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. If your baseline as a leader is reactive, your company absorbs reactivity. If your baseline is composed, your organization mirrors composure. I have worked with founders whose businesses felt stalled. Strategy was not the issue. Systems were adequate. The missing component was energetic steadiness. When a leader oscillates between excitement and discouragement, the team becomes uncertain. When the leader stabilizes, momentum follows. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. And frequency is measured by repetition. Do you wake up expecting progress or anticipating problems? Do you approach challenges with curiosity or dread? Do you interpret silence as rejection or neutrality? Your interpretation patterns reveal baseline frequency. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is the emotional tone you return to automatically. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. That tipping point occurs when stability replaces volatility. At first, raising your baseline feels intentional. You consciously redirect thoughts. You actively regulate breath. You deliberately choose constructive interpretations. Over time, it becomes natural. Calm becomes default. Trust becomes familiar. Gratitude becomes instinctive. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. Anxiety anchors survival timelines. Resentment anchors conflict timelines. Self-pity anchors stagnation timelines. Confidence anchors expansion timelines. Gratitude anchors abundance timelines. Peace anchors clarity timelines. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. Raising your baseline requires discipline. It requires self-awareness. It requires consistency. It's about motivation at the identity level, the internal commitment to remain congruent even when circumstances fluctuate. Motivation fluctuates. Baseline stabilizes. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. The body reacts quickly. Consciousness recalibrates deliberately. When irritation arises, you soften it before it becomes identity. When fear surfaces, you process it before it becomes baseline. When disappointment appears, you extract wisdom before it becomes narrative. What you rehearse, you relive. If you rehearse stability, stability becomes default. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. Look honestly at your average mood over the last month. Not your highlights. Not your vacations. Not your celebrations. Your average state. That state is designing your next chapter. If you desire a higher timeline, your baseline must match it. You cannot demand abundance while rehearsing dissatisfaction. You cannot demand partnership while rehearsing cynicism. You cannot demand leadership while rehearsing insecurity. Feel it now, or chase it forever. If you want peace, practice peace in traffic. If you want wealth, practice gratitude with what you have. If you want recognition, practice self-respect privately. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point is when you realize that mood management is timeline management. From that moment, emotional discipline becomes non-negotiable. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. You have stopped rehearsing the past. Now you elevate your default state. And as your baseline rises, something subtle shifts. Your past begins to lose its emotional charge entirely. Chapter 8. Rewrite the meaning of your past. The past is not controlling you. Your interpretation of the past is. Events are neutral until meaning is assigned. Once meaning is attached, identity forms around it. That identity then projects forward into the future. The past only holds power through interpretation. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is the meaning you choose. You may believe your history explains your limitations. In truth, your explanation sustains them. The event is finished. The story is ongoing. Change the meaning. Change the momentum. Consider failure. One person experiences a business collapse and labels it humiliation. They replay embarrassment. They attach shame to their identity. They conclude, I am not cut out for this. Another person experiences the same collapse and labels it training. They extract data. They refine skill. They conclude, this sharpened me. Same event, different interpretation, different future. Change the meaning, change the momentum. If failure equals humiliation, hesitation follows. If failure equals training, courage expands. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. That frequency is often hidden behind old conclusions. You are still the creator. Creation does not require a new past. It requires a new perspective. Look at moments you call mistakes. Did they expose weakness or reveal capacity? Did they close doors or redirect you? The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Frequency is shaped by interpretation. If your past relationships are labeled as proof that love is unreliable, distrust becomes baseline. If they are labeled as lessons in discernment, wisdom becomes baseline. Change the meaning, change the momentum. I have seen entrepreneurs trapped not by market conditions, but by memory. They describe early struggles with intensity. They recount being overlooked, rejected, dismissed. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. If those early chapters are framed as evidence of inadequacy, growth slows. If those same chapters are framed as resilience training, growth accelerates. Meaning alters momentum. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. You decide whether your history disqualifies you or prepares you. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. That tipping point happens when you realize your past is editable in perception. You cannot change facts. You can change conclusions. A childhood marked by instability can be labeled as damage, or it can be labeled as adaptability training. A career setback can be labeled as rejection, or it can be labeled as redirection. Change the meaning, change the momentum. The body reacts to interpretation. If you interpret a memory as shameful, your nervous system contracts. If you interpret it as formative, your nervous system stabilizes. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. Consciousness reassigns meaning. This is not denial. It is reclamation. You are not pretending painful moments were pleasant. You are choosing not to anchor your identity to their lowest interpretation. If it feels far away, you feel unqualified. Often what feels distant is blocked by unresolved narrative. You may desire leadership, yet recall moments of public embarrassment and label them as proof you are not meant for visibility. Rewrite it. That moment strengthened your composure. It refined your communication. It prepared you for larger rooms. Change the meaning, change the momentum. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. Ascension requires releasing outdated self-definitions. If you believe you always struggle, evidence will continue appearing. If you reinterpret struggle as strengthening, struggle loses its identity grip. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. If your baseline story about your past is empowering, your future expands. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. You choose the narrative that fuels expansion. When a relationship ends, you can conclude, I was not enough. Or you can conclude, I learned clarity about my standards. When a business fails, you can conclude, I am incapable. Or you can conclude, I gathered intelligence for my next venture. Change the meaning, change the momentum. The momentum shift is subtle at first. Thoughts feel lighter. Emotional triggers soften. Confidence rebuilds quietly. Then acceleration begins. The timeline that once felt blocked begins to open. You're only 1 frequency away from your breakthrough. That frequency may be hidden behind a single outdated interpretation. What you rehearse, you relive. If you rehearse empowerment, empowerment becomes familiar. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. It responds to leaders who see their past as preparation rather than punishment. You are still the creator. You are not defined by what happened. You are defined by what you decide it means. Change the meaning, change the momentum. This is where timelines truly diverge. One path is fueled by grievance, the other by growth. One path revisits wounds, the other extracts wisdom. Two timelines, one decision maker. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point is recognizing that your past has been waiting for reinterpretation, not to erase it, to empower it. You have raised your baseline. Now you liberate your history. And as meaning shifts, something remarkable occurs. The space between your old and new identity becomes quieter. That quiet space may feel unfamiliar. Chapter 9. Make peace with the void between timelines. There is a space between identities, a quiet stretch where the old no longer fits and the new has not fully formed. That space feels empty. It feels uncertain. It feels unstructured. It feels exposed. The void is the bridge. Most people misinterpret this phase. They assume something has gone wrong. They assume the manifestation failed. They assume they made a mistake. In reality, the gap is evidence of transition. Two timelines, one decision maker. When you detach from the old frequency, the new one does not instantly crystallize. There is recalibration. There is integration. There is stillness. The void is the bridge. Imagine someone who leaves a stable job because it no longer aligns. The paycheck was predictable. The routine was defined. The identity was clear. They step away to build their own business. At first, there is excitement, freedom, possibility. Then the quiet arrives. No immediate validation. No guaranteed income. No structured affirmation. The ego panics. Go back. This was safer. But safety was stagnation. The void is the bridge. The absence of immediate proof does not mean failure. It means gestation. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. The nervous system must adapt to expansion. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. Yet before that tipping point stabilizes, there is often silence. The old habits are dissolving. The new habits are forming. The identity is shifting internally before external confirmation appears. The void is the bridge. This phase is delicate. It requires trust. It requires steadiness. It requires restraint from overcorrecting. Many abandon the new timeline during the void. They misread discomfort as misalignment. They retreat to familiarity. Two timelines. One decision maker. The decision maker determines whether the void becomes regression or rebirth. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. But when you first tune to that frequency, it may feel unfamiliar. Unfamiliar often feels empty. If your previous baseline was constant stimulation, emails, deadlines, drama, urgency, then calm feels unnatural. If your previous identity was constant striving, then spaciousness feels like loss. The void is the bridge. It is not punishment. It is recalibration. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. When you upgrade your frequency, your energetic field reorganizes. Old opportunities fall away. Old conversations fade. Old dynamics dissolve. Before new aligned opportunities appear, there may be temporary quiet. That quiet is clearing. I have guided individuals through this stage repeatedly. They leave misaligned partnerships. They release draining clients. They step away from careers that shrink them. Immediately, there is openness. Then there is doubt. What if nothing replaces this? That question emerges from the old identity. The void is the bridge. The bridge does not look like the destination. It looks like space. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. During the void, your frequency must remain steady without external validation. This is mastery. You are still the creator. Creation does not require constant visible movement. Seeds grow underground before they break the surface. Feel it now, or chase it forever. If you cannot feel certainty during the quiet, you will chase reassurance externally. The void tests emotional independence. Can you remain grounded without applause? Can you remain confident without proof? Can you remain committed without immediate reward? 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. If you return to the old timeline during the void, you reinforce fear. If you stay steady, you reinforce trust. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. If your baseline becomes calm expectancy rather than anxiety, the bridge shortens. You are not your body. You are your consciousness, and your consciousness is infinite, and you are not bound to this body. The body seeks immediate safety. Consciousness understands delayed manifestation. The void is the bridge. It is the space where identity stabilizes without distraction. It is where you discover whether your embodiment was conditional or absolute. Did you act as your future self only when results appeared? Or do you remain aligned even when the environment is neutral? That answer determines acceleration. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point often occurs right after the void. Momentum returns suddenly. Opportunities align quickly. Connections appear unexpectedly. But they arrive because you did not retreat. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. The void ensures you are truly tuned to it. This phase is not about inactivity. It is about internal consolidation. You refine skills. You strengthen mindset. You clarify vision. You release lingering doubt. Outwardly, it may look quiet. Internally, it is profound. The void is the bridge. If you panic, the bridge collapses. If you trust, the bridge carries you forward. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. It responds to leaders who remain steady in uncertainty. Investors sense composure. Clients sense grounded confidence. Partners sense long-term vision. What you rehearse, you relive. If during the void you rehearse fear, fear stabilizes. If during the void you rehearse certainty, certainty stabilizes. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is your interpretation of silence. Silence can mean absence, or it can mean incubation. The void is the bridge. You do not rush across it. You walk it deliberately. You have released the past. You have raised your baseline. You have rewritten meaning. Now you stand between timelines. And instead of panicking, you remain steady. Because you understand the mechanics. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The void is not empty. It is preparation. And once you cross it, you must ensure your energy is not leaking backward. Chapter 10. Eliminate energetic leakage. Energy is not infinite. Every thought, every word, every interaction moves it. Some of it flows toward creation. Some of it evaporates into distraction. Gossip, comparison, resentment drain power. Guard your energy like currency. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is how you spend attention. Notice how easily energy leaks into other people's stories. A coworker complains. You absorb it. A friend brags. You compare. A stranger's success triggers envy. Guard your energy like currency. Every moment of gossip, every second of jealousy, every iteration of resentment weakens your field. Weak energy attracts lower frequency realities. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. And leakage makes the bridge to that timeline slippery. Consider social media. Scrolling becomes a ritual. Likes, comments, comparisons, curated perfection, all fuel an unconscious treadmill. Someone posts about their promotion. You feel inadequate. Someone posts about their vacation. You feel behind. Someone posts about their business success. You feel blocked. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. If your energetic field is scattered across envy, fear, and judgment, opportunities bypass you. Connections misalign. Momentum stalls. Guard your energy like currency. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. That decision maker is deliberate focus. You cannot absorb every external vibration and expect stability. You must protect your frequency. Resentment toward a colleague erodes creativity. Envy toward a peer erodes confidence. Comparison toward a friend erodes clarity. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Your frequency determines what manifests. I once guided a client who constantly monitored competitors online. Their business felt stuck. They knew the strategies, the trends, the metrics, but every day they consumed content obsessively, comparing themselves to everyone else. We worked to eliminate energetic leakage. They stopped tracking competitors constantly. They set strict boundaries for social media. They replaced comparison with curiosity. Within weeks, decision-making sharpened. Marketing became bold and consistent. Revenue began to expand. Guard your energy like currency. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. And that frequency cannot coexist with habitual drainage. You are still the creator. Creation requires focus, not distraction. You cannot design a high-frequency life while funding low-frequency habits. Gossip about a neighbor. Compliment withheld, envy amplified. Conversation about failure repeated endlessly. Energy lost. Guard your energy like currency. Imagine every interaction as a transaction. Energy spent without value received is wasted. Energy invested into yourself compounds. Energy shared intentionally expands. Resentment is theft. Comparison is tax. Gossip is leakage. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is your energetic stewardship. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. That tipping point arrives when you treat energy as sacred. You begin noticing subtle losses. You withdraw from draining environments. You refuse to feed negativity. Guard your energy like currency. The body responds to energetic integrity. Calmness deepens. Clarity sharpens. Presence amplifies. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. Leaders who protect their energy see results appear almost effortlessly. Their teams mirror composure. Opportunities align naturally. Decisions feel inevitable. Social media envy is a small example. A single scroll triggers comparison. That momentary thought creates micro-resistance. Micro-resistance compounds over days, weeks, months. Guard your energy like currency. You do not need to engage with every vibration in the field. You do not need to validate every outside opinion. You do not need to drain yourself with every narrative in circulation. Your energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. That decision maker determines how power flows. If power leaks, momentum slows. If power is conserved and directed, momentum accelerates. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. Energy leakage is the hidden resistance. Some people meditate. Some people train. Some people strategize. Yet if energy is drained daily through gossip, comparison, and resentment, those practices are neutralized. Guard your energy like currency. Set boundaries. Filter interactions. Refuse the stories that weaken you. Amplify the narratives that strengthen you. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Every transaction of energy shapes your default timeline. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. This is mastery in action. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point is when you consistently protect your frequency without excuse. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. Your decision maker now enforces energetic integrity. You have raised your baseline. You have rewritten the past. You have made peace with the void. Now you eliminate leakage entirely. And once your energy is consolidated, expansion becomes inevitable. Chapter 11. Embody the future self daily. Your future self is not a distant dream. It is an identity that already exists in energetic form. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is your daily embodiment. Embodying the future self is not about grand gestures. It is not about waiting for external validation. It is about alignment in every small choice. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Every decision, every thought, every word, every posture carries a signal that either aligns with your higher timeline or reinforces the old one. Dress like the person who commands respect. Speak like the person who is confident in influence. Think like the person who makes decisive, empowered choices. Decide like the person who trusts intuition over doubt. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Consider health. A future-fit individual does not wait for the perfect plan. They make small choices each day. Drinking water, taking the stairs, moving with intention, choosing nourishing foods, resting when necessary. Each choice compounds into identity. Each choice signals possibility. You are still the creator. When you act from the upgraded identity, the present begins to shift. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. This is not pretending. Pretending is detachment. Embodiment is integration. You are aligning behavior, thought, and energy with the self who already exists in the higher timeline. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Every morning, consider the person you want to be. Not the one you were yesterday. Not the one everyone expects you to be. The upgraded self. The version who handles challenges effortlessly, who commands respect, who attracts abundance naturally. Then act as that person immediately. Eat like that person. Speak like that person. Respond like that person. Move like that person. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Even tiny choices matter. Waking 5 minutes earlier. Sending 1 thoughtful message. Completing a single action without hesitation. These are the signals your nervous system uses to stabilize new identity. Consider someone building a business in alignment with their calling. Their old identity doubts ability. They hesitate on pricing. They defer marketing decisions. Embodying the future self changes that. Decisions are made confidently. Pricing reflects value. Boundaries are firm. Visibility increases naturally. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is your daily choices. If daily choices contradict vision, the timeline stretches. If daily choices embody vision, the timeline compresses. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Your body, mind, and energy learn through repetition. When your behavior matches your upgraded identity, thoughts stabilize. When your thoughts match your upgraded identity, emotions stabilize. When emotions stabilize, reality responds. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. Future self-embodiment stabilizes baseline. Even external circumstances may lag. Even others may resist. Even outcomes may delay. But the internal frequency is now congruent. The void between timelines closes with repeated alignment. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Notice the difference between acting from fear and acting from alignment. Acting from fear produces hesitation. Acting from alignment produces flow. Acting from fear amplifies old narratives. Acting from alignment reinforces upgraded identity. Every micro-decision compounds. Skipping the gym once is neutral. Skipping values-based action repeatedly becomes identity erosion. Choosing alignment repeatedly becomes magnetic. You are still the creator. You cannot cheat embodiment. It is measured in repeated behavior. Your body remembers before your mind convinces you. Your nervous system senses before your ego rationalizes. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Consider language. Speak like your future self. Eliminate self-deprecation. Affirm capability. Project confidence. Every word becomes a marker of identity. Consider posture. Move like the person who inhabits the expanded timeline. Stand taller. Walk deliberately. Speak calmly. Act decisively. Consider focus. Prioritize activities that match your upgraded identity. Delegate or ignore distractions. Protect your energetic field. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Even small daily rituals signal alignment. Drinking water first thing, journaling with clarity, making one decision from intention rather than reaction. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. Clients, partners, and opportunities respond instantly to embodied identity. They feel certainty. They mirror alignment. They open doors without prompting. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is now embodied consistently. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. The tipping point occurs when daily embodiment becomes natural, effortless, and automatic. The future self is no longer abstract. It is now alive in the present. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Notice your thoughts. Notice your emotions. Notice your behaviors. Adjust immediately to maintain alignment, even when tired, even when challenged, even when results are delayed. This is the mastery of daily embodiment. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away, and the bridge is your consistent, aligned action. You have eliminated leakage. You have crossed the void. You have embodied the future self daily. Now it is time to amplify influence outward. Chapter 12. Upgrade your environment to match the timeline. Your surroundings are not neutral. Every object, person, and space you occupy signals frequency. Environment decides evolution. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is the energy you allow around you. Physical spaces, social circles, digital consumption, all act as mirrors. They either reflect your upgraded self or anchor your old identity. Environment decides evolution. Consider friendships. Some friends cheer your growth. Some friends envy it. Some friends subtly reinforce limitation. Being around stagnant energy constantly reminds the nervous system of old timelines. Being around expansive energy repeatedly signals the body and mind to align with higher timelines. Changing friend groups is not abandonment. It is recalibration. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. If your social environment reinforces fear, scarcity, or doubt, your nervous system cannot stabilize abundance. If it reinforces courage, curiosity, and consistency, expansion becomes inevitable. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. I worked with a client stuck in revenue plateaus. Strategy was strong, systems were intact, but the social environment was draining. Friends, partners, and colleagues were obsessed with complaints and comparison. We upgraded the environment. They began networking with ambitious entrepreneurs. They participated in mastermind groups. They reduced contact with energy drains. Within months, their confidence rose. Opportunities appeared. Revenue accelerated. Environment decides evolution. Consider physical space. Clutter compresses energy. Organized, intentional spaces expand clarity. Colors, lighting, even airflow influence nervous system stability. A workspace aligned with vision signals the subconscious that success is the default. Consider digital space. News, social media, content, these form a frequency field. Curating what enters your mind protects your energetic bandwidth. Disengage from content that reinforces limitation. Engage with content that expands possibility. Environment decides evolution. Small congruence compounds. The person aiming for fitness removes junk food and invests in healthy snacks. The person aiming for wealth organizes finances and studies scalable systems. The person aiming for visibility creates a workspace that supports recording, creativity, and presence. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is the frequency you embed in your surroundings. Do not underestimate the subtlety. Even minor environmental cues influence identity. A friend who mocks ambition. A background noise of negativity. An office filled with unresolved clutter. All these reinforce old timelines without conscious awareness. The only thing that's actually sustainable is that you change the frequency at which you vibrate most of the time. Upgrading your environment is a declaration of frequency. When you step into new spaces, you are telling yourself, I belong here. I am this person. This timeline is natural. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. Clients respond to energy, not strategy alone. Employees mirror the frequency of leadership. Partners match alignment automatically. If your physical, social, and digital environment is misaligned, momentum slows. If your environment matches identity, opportunity accelerates. You are still the creator. Curate spaces intentionally. Choose company intentionally. Monitor digital exposure intentionally. Environment decides evolution. It signals the subconscious. It guides behavior. It accelerates manifestation. Even subtle cues matter. The motivational poster. The organized desk. The friend who mirrors your ambition. The group that challenges you to expand. Each reinforces the upgraded identity. The void between timelines closes faster when the environment supports alignment. The tipping point arrives when external conditions no longer dictate internal stability. You embody the future self in a space that amplifies the identity rather than contracts it. Small congruence creates massive convergence. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. If you sit in chaos expecting clarity, you will stagnate. If you sit in energy that supports mastery, clarity emerges effortlessly. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. You have eliminated energetic leakage. You have embodied the future self daily. You have consciously upgraded your environment. Now, the universe mirrors your frequency. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. Environment decides evolution. Chapter 13. Quantum Decisions, the Power of Non-Negotiables. Transformation does not happen in half measures. It requires clarity. It requires irreversibility. A real shift requires irreversible internal decisions. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is your commitment to self-directed evolution. You cannot wish, negotiate, or rationalize your way into higher frequency. You must decide once internally. Decide once. Prove daily. Non-negotiables are not threats. They are markers of identity. They define what you will no longer accept. They define who you are becoming. I no longer tolerate chaos. I no longer compromise my energy. I no longer accept uncertainty about my worth. Decide once. Prove daily. These declarations are internal boundaries that organize both consciousness and behavior. They are commitments to the self that cannot be violated without consequence. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. Every choice after the decision reinforces it. Every repetition solidifies identity. Every moment of integrity proves the decision was correct. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. When I work with leaders, the ones who make quantum decisions without hesitation experience rapid acceleration. One client decided, I will not allow victim consciousness in my team. Immediately, hiring, firing, and delegation aligned with that boundary. The energy cleared. Opportunities expanded. Momentum returned. Decide once. Prove daily. Internal decisions are quantum because they collapse potential timelines. Before the decision, multiple outcomes exist. After the decision, the field aligns. Energy shifts. The universe responds. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. This is why half-hearted resolutions fail. Saying, I want abundance, but I'm not ready to enforce discipline, keeps you in limbo. Saying, I want love, but I tolerate disrespect, anchors old realities. Decide once. Prove daily. A non-negotiable is an energetic marker. It informs your nervous system how to respond to opportunities and challenges. It informs relationships how you allow treatment. It informs business how you structure contracts, deals, and expectations. The void between timelines collapses when non-negotiables are clear. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Every day, choices reinforce the boundary. Every act becomes proof. Every aligned action compounds. Consider someone who declared, I will not engage with low-frequency content. Immediately, social media consumption shifted. Energy stabilized. Focus intensified. Creativity accelerated. Results began appearing faster. Decide once. Prove daily. The tipping point occurs when internal decisions are irreversible in the subconscious. Doubt may arise. Fear may appear. External pressure may challenge the boundary. Decide once. Prove daily. Yet integrity remains. Momentum persists. Frequency aligns. You are still the creator. Consciousness cannot negotiate with indecision. Consciousness only responds to clear frequency. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. Non-negotiables streamline execution. They remove hesitation. They reduce compromise. They collapse unnecessary timelines. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is now your non-negotiable. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. Once the boundary is internalized, choices align effortlessly. Your upgraded self no longer debates possibilities that contradict identity. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. And irreversibility ensures that alignment is permanent. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Your body, mind, and energy recognize the declaration immediately. Your actions match identity. Your baseline stabilizes. Your reality responds. You cannot shortcut your way through ascension. Decide once. Prove daily. Every day, every choice is proof. Every act validates identity. Every repetition builds momentum. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The non-negotiable eliminates old options. It simplifies complexity. It accelerates manifestation. You have eliminated leakage. You have embodied the future self daily. You have upgraded your environment. You have anchored internal authority through quantum decisions. Now, the universe mirrors clarity with velocity. Chapter 14. Align action with belief. No more mixed signals. Action alone is not enough. Belief alone is not enough. Both must converge. Effort without belief creates friction. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is your internal coherence. You cannot act from 1 frequency while thinking from another. When actions and beliefs conflict, energy stalls. Momentum hesitates. Manifestation delays. Aligned action accelerates timelines. Consider someone applying for a promotion. Every day they submit applications, network, and polish resumes. Yet deep down, they fear responsibility. They doubt leadership ability. They imagine failure. Effort alone does not produce the desired result. The nervous system senses the contradiction. The universe mirrors the energy. Doors remain closed, interviews feel off, connections resist. Aligned action accelerates timelines. When belief matches action, energy flows without resistance. When confidence underpins initiative, momentum is inevitable. Opportunities appear naturally, sometimes unexpectedly. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. You are still the creator. A business owner may post content daily, yet secretly doubt value. Results are inconsistent. Engagement stagnates. Revenue lags. Shift belief first. The internal alignment signals the nervous system. Then act. Actions become magnets rather than resistance. Aligned action accelerates timelines. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is integrity between thought, emotion, and behavior. Consider a client who wanted to expand their coaching business. They hesitated to raise prices, fearing rejection, yet promoted premium packages daily. Results were inconsistent. We aligned belief with action. They embraced their worth, held pricing confidently, and spoke from certainty. Within weeks, bookings surged, revenue accelerated, and invitations appeared. Effort becomes leverage only when coupled with conviction. Small congruence compounds. When you act from belief, nervous system coherence increases. Decisions become faster. Energy stabilizes. Momentum builds. When you act from doubt, friction arises. Opportunities deflect. The body contracts. The mind questions. Aligned action accelerates timelines. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. Belief is the blueprint. Action is the manifestation. Misalignment creates tension. Alignment creates ease. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is your internal agreement. Every task, every meeting, every interaction carries energy. Mixed signals dilute power. Consistent coherence amplifies results. Consider relationships. If you claim commitment but secretly doubt, connection falters. If you embody trust and devotion, intimacy expands. Aligned action accelerates timelines. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. Teams sense misalignment. Clients sense hesitation. Opportunities sense uncertainty. When you embody belief, action flows naturally. When you embody belief, doors open effortlessly. When you embody belief, timelines compress. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Every morning, check alignment. Are thoughts consistent with actions? Are intentions mirrored in behavior? Are words congruent with identity? Any misalignment is energy leakage. Correct immediately. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is fidelity to self-coherence. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. Tipping point occurs when every action becomes an expression of identity, not a negotiation with fear or doubt. Aligned action accelerates timelines. It is the final step before expansion becomes effortless. No hesitation, no contradiction, no energy spent resisting internal truth. You have eliminated leakage. You have embodied the future self daily. You have upgraded your environment. You have made quantum decisions. Now every choice reflects certainty. Every action signals alignment. Every move propels manifestation. Aligned action accelerates timelines. Chapter 15. Become magnetic to the timeline you want. Magnetism is not luck. Magnetism is frequency. It is the natural consequence of internal alignment. Certainty collapses distance. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is the force of your presence. People, opportunities, and circumstances respond instinctively to your energy. They do not care about strategy or intention alone. They react to vibration. Certainty collapses distance. When you move with conviction, the field around you shifts. Doors open without effort. Conversations align naturally. Connections appear seemingly by chance. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply one frequency away. Magnetism comes from authenticity. It is the signal of integrity. When thoughts, words, and actions resonate with the upgraded self, you emit alignment that others sense immediately. Clients are drawn to leaders who embody certainty. Investors respond to entrepreneurs whose energy matches vision. Teams mirror the calm authority of their leader. Certainty collapses distance. Consider someone stepping into public speaking. At first, nervous energy dominates. Attempts are tentative. Audience connection feels forced. When they shift internally, embracing competence, authority, and authenticity, the audience responds instantly. Engagement rises. Invitations multiply. Influence expands. Magnetism is an internal phenomenon that manifests externally. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is how consistently you embody alignment, integrity, and vision. If doubt infiltrates, energy disperses. If authenticity dominates, energy amplifies. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Your nervous system registers internal certainty before your surroundings do. The body communicates confidence. Gestures become expansive. Speech becomes clear. Decisions become decisive. Certainty collapses distance. Energy in business is a living spirit, and it's very real. People can sense hesitation. They can sense uncertainty. They can sense misalignment. They are equally drawn to calm authority, unwavering clarity, and unapologetic presence. Certainty collapses distance. A client wanted to attract high-level clients to their coaching program. When they doubted their own value, conversations felt forced, contracts stalled, and opportunities slipped. After internal recalibration, embodying their upgraded self, authenticity radiated. Prospects responded immediately. Deals closed faster. Invitations to speak and collaborate appeared effortlessly. Magnetism is a cumulative effect. Every aligned decision, every embodiment of the future self, every boundary enforced, every energetic leak plugged, every environment upgraded, every quantum decision made. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is the coherence of your frequency across all dimensions. Small congruence compounds. Momentum accelerates. Alignment expands. Certainty collapses distance. Your baseline predicts your breakthrough. Your frequency determines your visibility, influence, and opportunity. When you maintain high-frequency consistency, you attract the circumstances, people, and resources that match your energy. The void between timelines disappears. The bridge solidifies. Manifestation becomes inevitable. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. You are still the creator. The magnetic field you cultivate reflects your internal authority. It signals readiness, value, and integrity. It commands attention effortlessly. Certainty collapses distance. Imagine a leader walking into a room. They do not announce themselves. They do not perform. They simply exist in alignment with identity. People notice. Doors open. Conversations shift. Opportunities respond. The timeline that you desire to experience is simply 1 frequency away. Magnetism is not charm. It is alignment, not performance. It is identity in motion. Aligned action accelerates timelines. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Certainty collapses distance. You have eliminated energetic leakage. You have embodied the future self daily. You have upgraded your environment. You have rewritten meaning. You have made quantum decisions. You have aligned action with belief. Now you magnetize. Your energy draws resources effortlessly. Your frequency attracts high-level opportunities. Your presence commands respect naturally. Certainty collapses distance. The tipping point is not in effort. It is in coherence. Momentum is no longer a struggle. Manifestation is no longer delayed. Your desired timeline becomes inevitable. You are now fully magnetic. 2 timelines. 1 decision maker. The decision maker is you. Aligned, certain, authentic, unstoppable. When you experience the tipping point, you'll never go back to how things were. Certainty collapses distance. You are no longer reaching for your timeline. Your timeline reaches for you. You are the creator. You are the frequency. You are the magnet. The universe now responds to the certainty of your presence. Small congruence creates massive convergence. Aligned action accelerates timelines. Certainty collapses distance. You have mastered the bridge between 2 realities. You have closed the energetic gap. You are fully aligned with the life you desire. The timeline you inhabit now is unstoppable. In closing, there were never 2 separate lives. There was only one life, responding to who you believed you were. You don't shift timelines by waiting. You don't shift timelines by wishing. You shift timelines by becoming. The energetic gap was never about money. It was never about love. It was never about opportunity. It was about identity. Every chapter brought you back to the same truth. Change your meaning. Change your emotion. Change your identity. And your timeline must respond. You are not behind. You are not unlucky. You are not blocked. You were simply rehearsing the wrong self. Now you understand the mechanics. Now you understand the alignment. Now you understand that your future is not ahead of you. It is waiting for you to match it. Close the gap. Speak like the future you. Decide like the future you. Move like the future you. Feel like the future you. Not tomorrow. Now. Because the moment you fully embody the new identity, the old timeline loses its grip. This is your challenge. For the next 30 days, live as if the shift has already happened. No exceptions. No emotional backsliding. No rehearsing the past. Choose the new timeline, daily, deliberately, decisively. Your future self is not coming. It is waiting for you to arrive. Shift.